Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our business briefing special report on 2026 Burnsville road construction. This year, I'm pleased to be joined by our partners at MnDOT and the City of Burnsville. And this morning, presenting for us, we will have Brian Fisek from MnDOT to share a little bit about what's going on in Burnsville. Brian, I'm going to stop sharing here and let you jump in and take it from there.
All right, I will share my screen here, and this worked last time, but if you could give me a quick thumbs up, let me know we're seeing it.
There it is. Yep. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to people and present a little bit more about what's coming up. And as you mentioned, my name is Brian Fisek. I'm the MnDOT Metro South Area Manager, so I help coordinate with local agencies and businesses in Carver, Scott, and Dakota counties. That's what we consider the South area. And again, we're talking about 35W. So just quickly, agenda, we'll talk a little bit more about the purpose, what happened last year, what we got through last year, and what's coming up in 26, how our coordination works. And then on the end of this, there's a little bonus material about Highway 13. We'll do a look ahead there as there'll be more impacts in the area. So, project purpose and completed work. So, the map that I'm showing here is just the project area. So we've got a pretty long area on 35W from that split up to the river bridge. And our purpose is really that pavement preservation and bridge safety longevity. So we're replacing bridges, we're redoing the pavement, we're trying to put a good product out there, improve the ride so it's a smooth ride. And then there are some spots where we're making improvements to try to reduce that congestion, improve safety. Again, just make it a better experience as people are coming through on the freeway. The other items on there are a drainage system. As when it rains, when we have events, we want to make sure we're handling that appropriately, not only conveying the water where it needs to go, but treating it, and then lighting, make sure it's well lit. So when you're traveling at night, it's a safe environment. And then where we have exit and entrance ramps that come down to local systems, we want to make sure that the facilities that are there for pedestrians meet our ADA requirements and are easy for people to get around. So lots of things we're doing on this. This is a big project, and as I flip the slide here, you have 2-year construction. It's not going to surprise anybody. We did a lot last year. The way we had split it up was in 25, we were working on southbound 35W. So replacing those bridges, doing the pavement work there, and then down by the mall, getting the roundabout put in and a different way to exit as you come to County Road 42. Now in 26, we're looking at flipping and doing the northbound and then a couple more bridges to replace as mentioned on the screen there. So completed work, what we did was, again, just repeating what said there, work on that southbound side. So we did the pavement, a little bit of road widening there, worked on westbound Highway 13, the bridge reconstruction, and redid the ramps. Burnsville Parkway, as I know some of you are painfully aware, that bridge was removed and reconstructed. That is up. I've been through that a number of times. I think that looks really nice. Really good outcome on that one. And then Buck Hill and County Road 42, we did those changes down there with the new exit. And so if you want to head east on County Road 42, you're now going under the bridge. You take the exit, you go under, and you loop back around through the roundabout and then come up to take a right turn to head east. So a little bit different way to handle some of the traffic there, which should be helping with some of the congestion that we saw in that area. So all good work in my opinion, that is kind of opening that area back up and helping with the safety and mobility. So now, as we look towards 2026, we will officially begin in April 20th. And the first thing on that list is completing the southbound I-35W bridge over Cliff Road. So this was an area due to some factors that were discovered during construction as we got out there and actually dug into the ground. We got delayed on that one, and we weren't able to fully open that over the winter as we had hoped last year. So there's a little bit of work to do on that bridge to get that going. Once we have that one, that's when we will flip traffic over. We'll then work on that northbound side and do the pavement work, do the widening, work on those bridges and reconstructing those ramps. So most importantly, let's talk about what those impacts are. So as I mentioned, with our work on the southbound side, Cliff Road remains closed under there. Immediately when we finish that southbound, we're going to be working on the northbound. So Cliff Road will continue to be closed through October, basically through this year. And on the right, that map there might be a little small to see, but the idea is just showing the detour route there. People can use Nicollet and then Highway 5 and 13 as you're getting around to either side of Cliff Road. And then the other bridges on there, again, once we finish that southbound, we're going to be looking at doing the other bridges, getting eastbound Highway 13, northbound 35W. And so the map on the left side of the screen tries to show where some of those closures are going to be. Again, might be a little hard to see on there, but we'll go through that. I've got more slides here where we can kind of step through what's going on. And then I'll just make a big note at the bottom of the page there. We do have the text that all these schedules, the configurations, this is what we know right now. And everything is subject to change. Unfortunately, it's not an exact science. Once we get out there and start digging, we do our best to identify risks. We do our best to do a thorough investigation of everything, but construction can surprise us in multiple ways, and we have to adjust when we get those. So this is the best information we have right now and what we're planning to move forward with. But again, just wanted to put that caveat that it is subject to change. So as the title says, season-long ramp closures, that eastbound Highway 13 to northbound 35W, that ramp will be closed, and the detour route there, you would just continue eastbound on 13, go up Nicollet, up to Cliff, and then you'd be able to take that entrance ramp to get to northbound. And then similarly, the southbound, the 35W to eastbound 13, that loop ramp will be closed as well. And for this detour route, we'll be taking you, you'll exit to head west on 13 and then just use the Highway 5 interchange to turn around and head back to the west, or I'm sorry, to the east. So lots of ramp closures then in May and June as we ramp up with the northbound side and making those pavement and bridge changes. And not going to read through all the bullets, but you can see a lot of them are there, just the impacts to 13 and Cliff. Those are the main ones that we're dealing with, and then also down at County Road 42. And then just the two routes that we identify on this one, the maps on the right side there. Your westbound Highway 13 to southbound 35, that would be closed. So if you are headed in that direction, the detour route would be to head north on 35 up to Black Dog and then use that interchange to turn around and come back south. The other one is the northbound 35 to westbound 13. That one would be closed, and In this case, we would want to continue north on 35, take that exit to Cliff, and then come back around on Nicollet. So just pointing out some of the detour routes there. Again, we have those tentative dates of when all these ramps will be closed, looking in that May and June period as we work on those bridges and on those different ramps. As we head into later summer, that July through August and September, we get a little bit different ramps closed on this one. We will be working on the Burnsville Parkway, so those two ramps will be closed in that late July through August period. And then the other one or the other two looking again at Cliff Road and then at the 35 to 13. And so in pointing out detour routes again on the maps on the right side, northbound 35 to westbound 13. We would just continue north, head up to Cliff, and then come around Nicollet to 13. So that's your way around to get to westbound 13. For Burnsville Parkway, be the same, or be headed using Nicollet to head up to 13, and then you could take 13 up to the interchange at 35W there. So in pointing out a couple detours there will be several as these ramps are closed. We'll have more on that. We'll have maps like these that'll detail it and let people know where they can go. So just a quick note about coordination. As we've been working through this project and continue to work through this, we do have our weekly construction meetings. We provide updates to the railroad. We work with the city and the county. They are right in there with us to give that latest information. Work closely with Metro Transit, MVTA, who's not listed on here, but making sure that they're up to date on the latest ramp closures and where we're working so that they can adjust their routes accordingly. And then we have emergency services meetings too. We make sure that our partners in emergency services, so fire, police, they know what's going on in terms of our closures again, where they're able to get to. And just a quick note on that, there's still, even in a construction area, if they need to get somewhere, they can, assuming when a bridge is down, obviously they can't go across there, but if we have a ramp closed and police need to get through, they have come through our construction area before. We've talked with them about how we can do that safely and making sure that they know when areas will be down that are completely inaccessible and when they're closed to traffic. But if should they need in an emergency, they can still get through some of those areas. So definitely try to make sure our partners are up to date, up to speed on everything that's going on. And then, as I mentioned, going through when there are changes coming forward, these are some of the communication areas that we get out and try to make sure people understand or make sure they know what the changes are and can deal with them appropriately. So staying connected, this is nothing new. I think we've had this in our other ones, but we do have our project website. So the second and third bullet on there, our project website, our project hotline. The website, you'll have this information on there. We'll have different maps. All the detours and everything will go on the website. The project hotline, we have the email there and the phone number. Feel free to use those if you have questions. We have people, our team, our project team is answering questions all the time. And so they're there for that reason. If you have a question about a particular route or a particular schedule, we do our best to provide as much information as we can and as much as we know. And then the top bullet, the 511MN, that's a general website for the whole state, and it provides information, traffic, road conditions for not only this project, but all projects going on. And it can give you some good information when you're traveling, again, whether that's localized traveling and you want to just see what's going on, whether that's congestion or construction in a particular area, or if you're traveling up north or wherever you may be traveling, you can always check that site for the latest information. And we're getting out of winter, but just a note for next time, we do actually have plow cameras and everything in there too. So when it snows, when our plows are out, it can be interesting to see what they're looking at and how that how they view the roads as they're coming through. So lots of information on that website. Last thing I'll point out, or two other things I'll quickly point out on this slide, you can use your phone to snap the QR there to get to the website, but in the lower right, as you uh, in the lower right, there's the Connect with Us. So this is right on the website. When you go to the website on that home page in the lower right, similar to where we have it positioned on this slide, you'll see this Connect with Us and the opportunity to sign up for emails. And we do send out emails when we're making changes in the plan, when we make milestones or something's open. So it's a good way to get information, direct email that will come out and tell you the latest information as well. So just another way to stay connected on this project. All right, so switching gears a little bit, let's talk about Highway 13 and what's coming up there, because we've got another big project around the corner here. And so just a little background, we started this a few years ago before I was in my current role. They did a corridor study on the whole area covering really that Nicollet through Dakota, and looking at that and just in Burnsville and Savage, looking at those two areas, determining what are the issues out there and what do we need to do to make improvements in these areas? As people well know, there's a lot of freight traffic that comes through, particularly on the west side. We've had our issues at Nicollet with that signalized intersection there, particularly for some of the pedestrian connections back and forth. Had some tragedies there that are front and center on our mind as we think about improvements in these areas. The yellow area, kind of a dash line, if you can see that to the west around Dakota, just indicates that from that original study, we've already been out there, we've made improvements to Dakota Avenue. And so now we're looking at those orange areas, the two sides there, Nicollet and 13, and then 13 from Quinton through Washburn. So just another map, just splitting up how we're looking at it. We have three segments. The first segment in Savage, that Quinton and Lynn area. Then we move into Burnsville with Chowan and Washburn. That's kind of our west side project. And then we have our Nicollet Avenue and 13 as the east of 35W and looking at that signal. So if I start in segment one, this is the layout of what we're looking at for improvements. And what we're looking at here is getting rid of the signals on Highway 13. So the goal is to remove those signals, get to grade separated crossings, interchanges, and make it much better from both a safety and mobility standpoint. So in the Savage area here, from Quinton to Lynn, we'd be looking at an interchange at Quinton, and the Highway 13 would go up and over, Quinton would come underneath, and then we would have the ramps to and from the highway, to and from the highway. As we move towards Lynn, because of the grades and the separation we need between interchanges, we were not able to get a crossing there. So Lynn would be disconnected under this scenario, but just to the east at kind of that Huntington area, that is where we're looking at adding a crossing and adding ramps in. So kind of a moved connection from Lynn to the east, which provides the separation we need for our ramps and then still allows through the frontage roads the connections back and forth. All right, as we continue on, this is then the other side from Chowan to Washburn. So as we look at Chowan, we would have that crossing there in ramps. You can see the roundabout on the south side of 13, which will help get to and from the frontage road as well as one of the exit ramps. And then at Washburn, we would disconnect that. So again, you're not having a crossing at Washburn. We'd have the frontage roads, which would get you over to Chowan. And although we don't have an overpass there, we will still have an exit and an entrance ramp. So for traffic that is headed west on 13 and then exits at Washburn, they would still be able to exit there and then again, use the frontage road if they want to get to the south side or either over to Chowan or back to Highway 5. And then on the south side, we have the entrance to head east on 13. So and presumably a lot of that traffic will be headed back towards 35W. So this still gives people that access to Highway 13 to head east to the interchange or beyond as needed. So lots of different changes in the area, but again, getting rid of the traffic signals on there, helping the safety and mobility as people move through this. And then looking at our segment 3. So this is at Nicollet and 13, obviously, same idea of removing that signal and putting a grade separated interchange there. So this is almost a traditional diamond except for the eastbound exit to Nicollet. That one you can see kind of that curled in loop ramp there. So almost that standard diamond except for the one loop for the one direction, but still be able to go either way on Highway 13 and a couple signals on Nicollet to control that access, but otherwise good connection back and forth, removes all that Highway 13 traffic from Nicollet Avenue. So that will be, if you're headed through on Nicollet, whether you're driving or walking, you're going to have a much cleaner way to get through. Highway 13 would go up and over. There's a trail, we've got trails out there, pedestrian connections on both sides. So as people are headed from the orange line to MBTA or vice versa, just a much better connection through and much less traffic that you're trying to get across. You're not having to cross that high speed Highway 13, you're just going through the interchange intersections. So this is just a rendering that got put together of looking at what that bridge would look like at Nicollet and 13. So 13 is on the bridge going over, and then you can see Nicollet crossing underneath with the pedestrian facilities on both sides. So just we'll try to make it look like this, but we still going through the design, still working on that, but just wanted to show a little bit of what that could look like as we do that grade separation. So getting into a little bit of the schedule here, we are currently working on our environmental documentation as well as the design. I see I don't have the design in here. But we expect to finish that up this spring or early summer. Ongoing right now, we are talking about the potential for noise walls in a few areas along Highway 13. People who are impacted by those noise walls or could be impacted by those noise walls have already been notified of this. We sent out direct mailings to those people that would be directly impacted. But there are some meetings that'll focus on, had one yesterday, another one coming up in Savage, and then there's another one later in March, just a virtual meeting. There will be more meetings on the Highway 13 project as we continue forward, but just that's what we have right now. Letting dates, so that's when we expect to bring in our contractor to start working on this for the Nicollet and 13. That'll happen later this year. So in August, we expect to bring a contractor on board. And then the other segment from Quinton to Washburn, that'll be in 27. So we have construction on there, Nicollet starting in early 27. And what we have on there is design build. So what that means is when we bring the contractor on, we haven't fully finished the design. We've given them the way, call it about a 30% plan, where we've given them the path that they can use. Here's how we envision it. They can make some changes, usually to build it quicker or save some money on the project. Both of those can be good things. All of it still runs through MnDOT and our partners. But what that means is you may see some activity even later this year in the fall. Nothing major, but they'll be looking at the area if they need to move some utilities or any prep work they need. The big activity for Nicollet will really be in 27 when we start building the bridge and all those different impacts with it. And so this is just a quick look at what we're thinking right now. So that preliminary staging, when we get there for 27, Nicollet Avenue would be closed on both sides. And our detour would be taking people over to 35W, which would be fully open at this time. And then Highway 13 would be restricted. So we'd be looking at one lane in each direction. And as we get to the ramps for 35W and 13, those will be impacted at various times. And there will be those impacts there. We just don't have that all detailed out yet. And part of that will be working with our contractor once we get them on board later this year and determining how they want to proceed forward with this construction. So much like the other ones, big caveat that this is subject to change, but as we're looking at it right now, major impacts in 27 with the restrictions on 13 and that closure of Nicollet. And then very similarly to our other project, we have a project website. We have a project hotline in terms of an email address and phone number. And to connect with us, you're welcome to sign up for specific project emails for this one as well. And then we always have that 511 MN, which covers, again, the whole state and all construction projects going on. So lots of ways to stay connected on this one. And as I mentioned, as we continue through our design and get the contractor on board, we're anticipating more public events that will get that information out. But even if you can't attend the public events, you can pay attention to the websites and that'll provide the latest information as well. And I believe that is what I have today. So I can stick there. I'll keep my slides up. I think I'll turn it back to you right now, Jennifer, but I can go back to any of these if we want to look in a little more detail.
That's great. Thank you so much, Brian. This is great information, a little overwhelming. There's a lot there, but you've provided a lot of resources so we can stay up to date, and we appreciate that. I think one question I'll go back to just confirming with, so this summer we know that summarizing that we're really focused on the northern half of Burnsville, so it's not going to be an entire Burnsville like it was last summer with the Burnsville Parkway Bridge done and the County Road 42 off-ramp done. It's really the 13 and the Cliff Road, kind of that isolated area where we're still going to have pinch points. And then, but that should all wrap up this summer before we launch into the Nicollet 13 project, which is going to be um, the bigger project for that area. But once that area starts, the other stuff should be open for rerouting people around, right? Basically.
Correct. So yes, Burnsville Parkway is open this year. Other than those northbound ramps that we will have to get to at some point, we'll need to work on those ramps, but Burnsville Parkway itself will remain open, so that'll be a much better situation. And our focus is on 13 and Cliff for this year. And then next year will be the major impacts at 13 and Nicollet.
Great.
So we
Um,
did a question in the comments kind of to
yep.
that thing. So really the way to think about it is the 35 is the focus in 2026. Then 30, then in 2027, you're going to see 13 and Nicollet is the big change. And then 28 and beyond is kind of, that's where the western portion of the 13 corridor project could be ramping up, but that timeline's still a little fluid at this point as funding is being identified.
Thank you, Mark. Good clarification.
And just to clarify that too, do we really think the entire Nicollet and 13 project is going to get done in the 2027 season? Is that the plan at this point?
We're trying to get done as much as we can. So the hope is that we'll get it. We have talked about if they can't get it all done in one season, what does that look like over the winter? There may be some, well, let me rephrase that. There will still be some activity in 28, and we're trying to figure out, is that cleanup activity? Is that still some localized closure? Maybe we have to close one side or the other. So some of that is still fluid, but the goal is to get as much as we can done in 27.
And we appreciate how available you and your team have been that for these types of things. We usually do a transportation forum in the fall, and we expect to do that in early November, kind of a wrap up to the season and a preview to the next. But we've also talked about if there's additional information, if some of this stuff is fleshed out more once you have your contracts completed in August, that we might do something earlier in fall as more of a special report on these projects. Are there other questions in the room right now for Bryant or for
The
Mark?
other thing I just wanted to mention on that, Jennifer, is when we have some more public meetings
Mhm.
for 13, we can also get that information to you just as our general project meetings so that you can provide that to your members as well.
Perfect. Yes. And we definitely encourage our members to attend those when possible. I think they've attended some of the open house style meetings. We were over at McCall with you a
Mhm.
while back. And so we appreciate those opportunities as well. I'm checking the chat. Any other questions in the room for this morning?
The other thing I would say is another shameless plug. We do partner with Waze to try to provide people the most current information. And so just um, for everybody, um, I encourage you to use Waze. We try to monitor it and make sure your business is listed in there.
I think that's a great point. Mark has been such a great resource for us in helping make sure that your business is that I think if I'm not mistaken, the checklist is make sure you've claimed your Google profile for your business.
Definitely.
And then if you need help with access points to your business, Mark has been a good resource as a Waze administrator to make sure that things are pointing in the right direction to access
Yeah. We
your
had another
business.
question in the chat for phase two of the 13, kind of understanding what that scope is. I like to think of it more as the western portion of the 13 corridor project. So Brian, I don't know if you want to just run through that again quick.
Yeah, Western. So it's our segment 1 and 2. It's the grade separation. Just the uh, with my screens right now, I can't see the chat. So is it just about what the layout is, or is it
It
trying to
just
look forward to what that construction might
it
look like?
just says, can you re-review phase two of Highway 13 work?
Okay.
Specifically looking at showing.
Yep.
All right. So I'll put this up then. Uh, so this is the Chowan Washburn area and looking to remove the signals on 13. So more of a freeway style as Highway 13 comes through. It would go over, up and over Chowan. We would have that connection underneath. And there would be the ramps, Chowan. So this would be an eastbound exit and westbound entrance. And then kind of the other ramps would be at Washburn to and from the east. with no connection over Washburn. So with the grades and how we were doing, we can't get that connection over Washburn. But again, you can use the frontage road system to either get to Highway 5 or to Chowan to cross from south to north, north to south. And then we would have still the exit and entrance ramps between Chowan and Washburn to be able to get around to and from Highway 13.
So yeah, just follow. So if you're traveling westbound on Highway 13 and you want to get off at Chowan, you really can't. You'll have to exit at Washburn, go through the roundabout, run along the frontage road to get
Yep.
there. If you're at the intersection of Chowan and 13 and you want to get onto um, westbound 13, I think you have to go east to Lynn, I believe is where that is to get on. If I recall, I can't tell if there's a slip. I don't think there's a slip ramp there. If you're traveling eastbound, you can get off eastbound 13 at Chowan to get back onto Highway 13 eastbound. You need to travel towards Washburn, and there's a slip ramp on there to eastbound 13. I think, from a mobility standpoint, I think what we're really looking forward to is grade separating, right? So you have a lot more movements along 13, which will reduce rear end collisions. And then also providing, quite frankly, just a safer pedestrian movement and bicycle movement across 13 along that corridor. Right now, you're at grade at the signal with everybody else, and so it's going to really separate those two movements to provide safer movements through the area and really separate people who are just passing through um, passing through the area as you try to get to the businesses there. Actually, no more Frogger is probably the term we should be using for this. So I hope it's okay. We might coin the term of the no more Frogger is our nickname for this portion of the corridor.
And I think for those who travel this route, we went through this years back. I mean, one of the first phases was 5 and 13, right? With the grade separation and access changes. And so this is just branching out in either direction to make this more of a thoroughfare and improve the access, which
Well,
provides some challenges, but a lot of more advantages, right?
well, I think that's exactly true. I think the other thing to point out using that Frogger example is I know when I've gone to some of the businesses there, like, yes, you just jump right off.
Hmm.
But then getting back on takes forever. And so while you might have to shift where you get off now,
Yeah.
it's not going to be such a game time suck to get where you want to go and then get back onto the road because you will keep moving as you transition between the highway to where you want to go back onto the highway as compared to trying doing that all at once.
Yeah. I know this can be confusing looking at these maps. We will provide as much of this as possible. I'm sure Bryant will let us have some of these slides so we can make it available so you can study it a little bit more on your own. But are there any other questions while we have a captive audience here? If not, I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning and just let you know that the recordings of all of our business briefings are available on our YouTube page. So you can go there for this or other presentations. We will be back on April 3rd for our regular once a month business briefing with the City of Burnsville and our economic development update. So we hope you will join us then. Thanks.